الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن نبينا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We have reached the last part of the story of Umar radiallahu anhu. We covered his life before Islam and after Islam with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and a small portion of his khilafah. And today, inshallah, we'll wrap it up with the death of Umar radiallahu anhu. Umar radiallahu anhu was a man who often thought about his own death, and he would think about it in a productive manner where he would try his best always to prepare for the meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was very worried that he would be considered to be a hypocrite. And he would ask Hudayfa radiallahu anhu whether the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had mentioned him amongst the names of the hypocrites. And you can imagine someone who's Amir al-Mu'mineen, who has that status, being so close to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even then, he was still worried about his sincerity. So Umar radiallahu anhu, one thing that he became known for was, amongst many things, a particular dua that he used to make. And the dua he used to say was, "Oh Allah, grant me shahada, make me a shaheed in the city of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam." And as we know, one of the main ways of being granted shahada, it is in striving for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in particular at the battlefield. Now when people used to hear him saying, "Oh Allah, grant me shahada in Medina," it almost sounded like an oxymoron, something that is contradicting. Because if you want shahada, you go to where the battles are being fought. Medina, everyone around in Medina are Muslims. Or at the very least in Medina, there is safety. So people did not understand that dua. Yet Umar radiallahu anhu, he knew that if a person makes sincere dua, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept that dua, and nothing is impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Umar would continue making that dua until the moment that dua became a reality. And the way it happened was, there was a man by the name of Abu Lu'lu'a al-Majusi. This man was not a Muslim, but used to be a servant who worked in Medina. And he had hatred for Umar radiallahu anhu in particular, because it was through the efforts of Umar and the Muslims that Faris, the place that he was from, Persia, became Muslim or fell underneath Muslim control. So this man had particular hatred for Umar radiallahu anhu, and he vowed for a very long time to take revenge and to kill Umar radiallahu anhu. And this man, he sought out Umar in many different places, but he could not. He could not find Umar radiallahu anhu and face him, like some of the scholars they say, face him like a man. Because he knew that if he faces Umar and Umar's attention is on him, he can never win. Umar radiallahu anhu, as we've spoken about before, was a very strong and fierce man. So what did this Abu Lu'lu'a do? He found the one time where Umar radiallahu anhu was distracted. And what was Umar distracted with? He was distracted with Salah. So this man came to Umar radiallahu anhu, as history shows us, in Fajr prayer, early morning. Umar, Amir al-Mu'mineen, the leader of the Muslims, is leading the Muslims in Medina, in the Masjid of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Salah. And the narration goes that Umar was leading, and when he goes into sujood, and the people are going to sujood, Abu Lu'lu'a, he takes advantage. He comes and he has a dagger that has 2 points to it. And he stabs Umar. Not once, not twice, but he stabs Umar radiallahu anhu 6 times. And Umar radiallahu anhu, he does not move much. It was only once the companions started noticing that there was a delay in the prayer, and some of them started saying Subhanallah, thinking that Umar had forgot. When they looked up and they saw that Umar had been fatally stabbed, wounded, they sprung into action. And Umar, what he did was, instead of just leaving the Salah, he made Abdul Rahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu lead the prayer and to finish the prayer. And in some narrations it mentions that Abdul Rahman bin Auf, he read a very short surah, and the companions tried to apprehend this man, Abu Lu'lu'a. And this man started stabbing people left, right, and center. And many of the companions, a good amount of the companions, actually lost their lives because of that. It was not only Umar radiallahu anhu, but it was other companions as well. And Umar did not pass away on the spot. He actually survived and he lived for a few more days. But this man, Abu Lu'lu'a, when the companions surrounded him and he did not find any way to escape, the coward that he was, he ended up taking his own life. And he killed himself there on the spot, committing suicide, because he knew there was no way out. And Umar, once the companions and Umar himself realized the extent of his injuries, Umar sent a message to Aisha radiallahu anha, asking her for permission to be buried with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And just to reflect on that for a moment, there are so many parts that you can reflect on, but let us just reflect on that part. Here you have Amir al-Mu'mineen, the leader of all the Muslims. And he is sending a message to Aisha radiallahu anha, asking her for permission to be buried next to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Now, he could have used his authority and said, I am the Amir al-Mu'mineen, I am the leader, and this is my wishes, fulfill my wishes. He used his authority. But he did not. And Aisha radiallahu anha, even though she wanted that place, when she heard that it came from, the request came from Umar radiallahu anhu, she did not object. And she gave Umar what he wanted, what he requested. When Umar realized that his time on this earth was coming to a close, he thought about the Muslim community. And he thought about what would happen after his death. And one of the things that he secured as a favor upon the Muslims was that he was concerned about who would take on the responsibility of the Khilafah after him. When the Prophet ﷺ passed away, he did not appoint a specific individual by name saying that this is the person who will take after me. But the Prophet ﷺ gave many indications. And even amongst the companions themselves, they knew. Many of them knew that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq anhu would be the person who was closest to the Prophet ﷺ. And when Abu Bakr passed away, because of the circumstances, he did not leave it unmentioned. And he appointed Umar radiallahu anhu to become the leader after his passing away. Now when Umar was coming close to death, he chose a middle path, and he actually put it in his own words. And he said, if I do not pick a successor, then this is what the Prophet ﷺ did. And if I do pick a successor, then this is what Abu Bakr as-Siddiq did. So both ways are acceptable. And what he did was he combined the two. And he appointed a group of people from amongst the companions for the Muslims to select their next leader from amongst these people. And do you guys notice up until now, and even throughout most of the lives of these khulafa, that common trait that you do not see anyone amongst them appointing himself. You don't see Abu Bakr as-Siddiq jumping forward and saying, you know what, I am such and such, make me the leader. Umar was appointed by Abu Bakr before Abu Bakr passed away. And now Umar is making a group, a shorthand selection, a shorthand list, if you like, of people he sees fit to be the next Amir al-Mu'mineen. And even then, later on, inshallah, in the next class, we will cover how that selection went. But even amongst these companions, every single person was reluctant in taking on that responsibility. And the reason why I'm mentioning and highlighting that point is because it is in stark contrast of the way that people see things today. What do people do? Today people run for elections. Today people run to be appointed. Whereas people before they understood the great responsibility it comes with, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask you, this is not a simple task. And what makes the time of Umar radiallahu anhu so crucial was that the Prophet ﷺ saw a dream informing the Muslim Ummah that after the death of Umar, that Umar was the door against the fitna. And that once Umar radiallahu anhu would die, then the fitna would spread. So when you look at the life of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, when the fitna happened and people started leaving Islam, what did Abu Bakr as-Siddiq do? He contained the fitna and he extinguished the fitna. Umar radiallahu anhu, similarly, when there was fitna and people were causing problems, he kept things under control. and he led like a just ruler. But once Umar was killed, that opened up a whole new bag of worms, like they say. And the fitna just kept escalating and escalating. It was still contained during the time of Uthman radiallahu anhu, but it became worse and worse. To such an extent that once you see Uthman being killed, then things take a very dark turn. But to conclude and to wrap things up, the Khilafah of Umar was much longer than the Khilafah of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. Umar radiallahu anhu, he introduced many new things, systems. He put systems in place for the Muslims so that the future generations would benefit from it. A lot of the bureaucracy that you see in the Muslim world and in the world in general were through the efforts of Umar radiallahu anhu. In the past class, we touched on just a few of them. Umar radiallahu anhu was the first one to institute the idea of a pension. Umar radiallahu anhu was the first one to introduce the idea of child benefits. Umar radiallahu anhu was the first one to introduce the whole system of Baytul Mal, to have a place where the Muslims, anyone that is in need, not just Muslims, but for a place, a central bank or a place where people in need could refer to. And there are so many things that Umar radiallahu anhu put in place, and if you look at the expansion that the Muslims witnessed during the time of Umar, it is enormous. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, he made things ready for Umar, and then when Umar came into power, he took that opportunity, and you see the ikhlas, the sincerity that Umar radiallahu anhu had. And on a final note, and you will see this throughout all the khulafa, they understood the reality of life in the sense that they knew that today they are here and tomorrow they will be in the akhirah. So that they knew if the part of sincerity is to know or want good for people even after you leave them. Some people, they get so focused on themselves and they think that it is because I am in power, it is because I am doing this and that, and they don't have any plans after they leave power, after they pass away, and they make it just about them. But all the khulafa, they did it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was the Khalifa, Omars Ibn Al Khatab radiallahu anhu, he was supporting Abu Bakr. And when Umar was the Khalifa, Uthman was there supporting him. And this is a great example in showing the way that as Muslims that we need to be. That if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed someone in power and they are fit for the job, then what is required from us as Muslims is to try our best to support that individual. But unfortunately today, what ends up happening is everyone wants to be a leader. And if everyone is a leader, then there is no one that will follow. And everyone is pulling in their own direction. And you see the complete opposite during the lifetime of the companions, and it is only once later on when the fitna kept increasing and Umar is killed and Uthman is killed that Ali radiallahu anhu later on is killed as well. And inshallah we'll continue next time. We'll stop here for today.